I'm going to show you how to make one of these mended hearts, and it's a great project if you go to Creative Junk, because when I go there I always find snippets of some amazing fabrics. So I've just put a selection out here. You can find bits of bric-a-brac and gorgeous fabrics, and it's just right really, because I always look at the scrappy bits because they're just right for making these sweet little hearts. And I've just got a few here that I can show you, and it's different ways of doing it. This one's, it's got some lavender inside, and can hang up. This one is like a flat one. You don't have to stuff them. They make sweet little ornaments in themselves, and you can use all sorts. So along with my stash, I always find different things that I can put on them. Ribbons, and you just need a little bit of thread as well. You can get that from Creative Junk too. And then there's this one with lace and a sort of velvet and little charms. I had that in my stash. So it's a mix of using up your stash and just doing slow stitching really. It's very relaxing. I'm going to show you how I make them, but there's all sorts of ways of making them. There's no rules, and you can just make it up as you go along. So, but I'll show you what I do. So the first thing you're going to need is a template. So I made this symmetrical by folding it down the middle, and think about the size of the heart that you want to make, and just use any old bit of card and get yourself a template. So next you want to find a bit of fabric that's not so flash but is nice and good quality cotton, and that will be your base. So now what I'm doing is I'm just using any old felt tip to draw around it, because this is not really going to show. This is going to be stitched up, so it doesn't matter about getting a bit of colour. And then you're going to cut that out. So the next part is quite fun, and you can see from this side I've chosen a sort of greeny, yellowy, beige, purpley sort of colour theme. So now I've been to my stash and I've had a rummage, and I've got some more bits and pieces. So I'm quite liking this one, and got a bit more green. This might come in. This was an offcut from that one, but I might incorporate it. What else? Let's have a look. A bit of this, maybe. What I've done here is I've just sewn this central piece on, and I've trimmed the edges to be the heart shape. So I've had so the way I sew it is that I have bigger stitches on the back and tiny ones on the front. But the thing is, they're going to be hidden anyway, because the next step is we're going to put fabric like that yeah, I'll probably snip this down. I have half the heart. I want to make the most of this. I want to show as much of this as possible because I really like this fabric. So I'll have it going like that. And then I'll probably have a piece coming down like, oh, it doesn't quite fit. I'll have a piece coming down like that. And then probably a bit overlapping there. The thing about these hearts is they are mended hearts. They're meant to be a bit tatty, a bit patched. So, you know, the fact that I can't get all the way down with this piece is no problem. It just means there'll be another piece on there. Now, what you can do, of course I can't find it now, is you can use a glue stick and just to tack it down while you're sewing it. I found the glue stick. So it's just put a bit on. It's not hugely tacky, but it's enough. It helps to hold the fabric in place. While you sew it. So I'm just using ordinary cotton to sew this up. And I'm doing the same sort of stitches with a little bit on the front and the main one on the back. Okay, I'll show you a bit of me sewing. So you come in. Ooh, not very good. Here we go. You go in like this. Then this stitch is what I think they call it a little stabby stitch. It's just enough to secure it, but you'll hardly see it on this side. And then on the back you travel a bit because this side's not going to be seen. And then you come out and so on. Really is very easy, very, very relaxing. So I've sewn that on and trimmed it. And you can see what it looks like on the back. I've sewn it round. So for this side, I'm thinking I'm going to have this one like that. And then I've got this one that can go just in there. I like this. I love frayed edges. So that can go in there. And maybe put a piece in like that. But now this is the fun part as well. I don't know about you, but I've always got lots of bits of scraps hanging around from past projects and things. Things I find in op shops as well. And of course creative junk. I think this piece came from creative junk. But they come from everywhere really. And this is where you can add a few bits. So the reason, normally I put the embellishments on the top layer, but I'm thinking I might want to have some sort of bit of lace poking out behind this one. So I'm thinking, what shall I put there? Shall I put a piece like this? Or maybe a bit of this bit of lace I could have. I've sewn the pieces together and I'm going to continue embellishing it. So I've got a few bits of lace and bits and pieces, and how you embellish your heart is entirely up to you. You can do all sorts of things. So on this side you can see I've put a few buttons and a little flower and another flower on top of it. So I'm thinking that for this one I might continue with the flower theme, because I've got these flowers that are sort of, I like the green and purple. So I'm thinking I might put those there. So let's see. I might put these like that, maybe, and I think that looks quite nice. I've got it the right way up. Quite nice like that. And I found this little flower, so that go quite nicely there, like that. And I'm not sure what else. Don't want to overdo it, but maybe a little charm on there. And I keep this little container with all my buttons and charms in. So okay, so here it is. I've embellished it like so. And so I just want to show you now that there are different ways that you can sew these together. Okay, depends on what you're going for. So if you want to make a flat heart, a good way of sewing them together is to use blanket stitch and get a nice thread and just go all the way around the edge, and that's quite neat. It looks quite nice. But it doesn't work so well if you're going to stuff it. So if you're going to stuff it, I quite like this way of doing it. So what I've done with this is I've just sewn them together. You won't be able to see it because I sewed them together and then I went round and round with a thick decorative silk thread. And I think that looks quite nice. It looks a bit sort of imperfect as well, which I like, but it depends on what you're going for, if you do it very neatly or what your skill level is, I suppose. So look, with this one as well, I made a little pocket on the front and I made a little elastic opening, which I can't now open. There you go. There's a little pocket and I put a little crystal in there. That's fluorite crystal, which I thought was quite cool. So goes in there, and then this goes around here. Took a little bit of planning, that one, because I had to think about how I constructed that pocket. You know, I had to sew the button on before I sewed it on to the heart. So these things will come to you as you do them, and you can make them your own. Another way is to sew lace. And what I did with this one is I sewed lace onto one half and then I sewed them together, and you end up with this sort of lace border. My only advice would be that you use ruffle lace to do this rather than try and gather it yourself. By that I mean you use this type of lace, which again you can find at Creative Junk if you're lucky. But yeah, so this already ruffles it for you and makes it a hell of a lot easier to do. So now you've got a few different options, and I think for this one I am going to do it like this one. So I'll be back when I've done it and I'm about to stuff it, and I'll show you how to stuff it, which is very, very easy, but I'll show you anyway. Oops. So I finished sewing all around, and obviously leaving a hole so I can stuff it. And what I do is I don't fasten off, I leave the thread dangling so that I can sew it up when it's done. Now, I made this very, very quickly, this little lavender sack. Very easy to do. So, to stuff it, just put little bits of stuffing in. So now that I have stuffed it, I'm going to continue with sewing around so it's completely sewn up. So you can leave it just like this really, but one thing I quite like to do is to go around with this thread. So I've got a needle here, it's a proper embroidery needle, it's got a nice thick head so that I could thread this on. And here's a tip. Go in at the seam, like this. Might have to pull quite hard. Now, don't tie a knot, just leave a dangling thread like that, and you'll see that in time it will anchor itself and you can just snip it off and it'll be fine, and that way you won't see the knot. But you have to hold it the first few times. You could do this with wool. This is actually a really nice silk thread. Oops. Left over from a scarf I knitted. So you can see, you just make your way around like that. So here is the finished heart. Now you can put a little button here like this one and a little loop if you've got some ribbon. That looks quite neat. And really you just make these hearts as you want to and have fun, and it's just a wonderful way of using scraps and bits of material, and there's plenty of it at Creative Junk. So have fun. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and yeah, I'd love to see what you make. If you make some of these, that would be awesome. Anyway, I'll say bye for now and thanks for watching.